first digital computers were created during World War II in order to calculate trajectories of bombs and artillery shells so that the United States and Great Britain could more effectively use their technology from the Second Industrial Revolution. Now, in the decades that followed, a lot of the innovation was transferred to the private sector, and computers were miniaturized with transistors, integrated circuits, microprocessors. You saw the creation of personal computers by the 1980s. But linking the personal computers was the internet, which in fact was another top-down, defense-driven innovation created by DARPA, an agency of the US Defense Department, the Defense Advanced Research Products Agency. There were other innovations, many of which were from the private sector, including email and then the development of the World Wide Web. Wireless telephony also became very important beginning in the early 1980s. Now, the information age had a obviously major impact on the global economy. It boosted America's economy and greatly hindered the economy of the Soviet Union, which was not able to compete in information technology. Information technology was also incredibly important in allowing other countries, including Japan, South Korea, Israel, Taiwan, Singapore, and now China, to grow their own economies. The US military took an early lead in harnessing information technology for military purposes.
Kuwait, a member of the Arab League and a member of the United Nations, was crushed. Its people brutalized. 5 months ago, Saddam Hussein started this cruel war against Kuwait. Tonight, the battle has been joined.
President George H.W. Bush mobilized an international coalition to evict Iraqi forces, and Operation Desert Storm began early in 1991. Now, the expectations were that the US and Iraq would soon bog down into this horrible, costly war of attrition like World War I, but that is not what happened. What happened was a very one-sided military victory that heralded the impact of information technology on warfare. The US began the Gulf War by blinding Iraqi air defenses, taking them down by utilizing stealth aircraft, by utilizing cruise missiles and commando raids. That gave the US, with the Iraqi air defense network down, the US had total air supremacy over Iraq and Kuwait. The US Air Force could basically do what it wanted, and American smart bombs devastated Iraqi ground forces, ultimately destroying 1,300 Iraqi armored vehicles in 38 days of air attacks. Smart bombs were only 8% of the total bomb tonnage dropped by the US in the Gulf War, but that 8% was incredibly precise, incredibly effective. And when it actually came time to fight a ground war against the Iraqis, the US Army was able to do something that the Iraqis could not have anticipated. The 24th Infantry Division under General Barry McCaffrey was able to execute the famous left hook through the deserts of Saudi Arabia to hit the Iraqi forces in Kuwait from a direction they had not expected from their side. It was a devastating attack, and it was made possible entirely by GPS. And remember, in 1991, the Iraqis did not have GPS. The US had GPS, and it was that use of GPS, global positioning satellites, that enabled the US to maneuver in a way that no mechanized force had previously maneuvered in military history. The Department of Defense had ordered 16,000 body bags in preparation for the Gulf War. They were expecting 16,000 US soldiers to die, but in fact, only 240 coalition soldiers died in the war out of 800,000 that were engaged. US aircraft losses were 1/20th of 1%. This was as dominant a conventional combat performance as any country has ever had.